Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 7:30. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes of the Mayor and Council Public Forum of February 10th, 2014, also the Mayor and Council meeting of February 18th, 2014, and the Step Pool Conveyance bid minutes of February 21st, 2014. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes of the previous meetings?
I move we accept them as presented.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Item number 2 is the payment of bills. Is there a motion to pay the bill?
Move that we pay the bills as presented.
I know we're trying to save money and all. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is also passed unanimously. The third item on the agenda is a presentation from Carol Drogue from the Samaritan Group.
Where would you like me to do this from? Here or?
Usually at the podium, yeah.
Okay, I have some notes for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Did I get it?
Absolutely, yeah.
I'll give you
Okay,
mine
that's
when
fine.
we're
Yeah,
done. I'll
that's
give
great, thanks.
You have some information there on Samaritan Group. If you're not familiar with Samaritan Group, it is the group that runs the only homeless winter shelter in, is this on? It doesn't sound like it.
I can hear you.
Okay, it's the only homeless shelter in the county. We serve Kent and Upper Queen Anne's counties. We run from January through March every year in local churches, and then the rest of the year we participate in a group called Local Outreach. And I thought it was important that you understand a little bit about both of those organizations, or both of those responsibilities that we handle. Right now, we're smack in the middle of the winter shelter, and if you look on the chart about that, you'll see that we've been really, really busy this year. I want to introduce you to Dora Best right here. Dora is our shelter coordinator, and she's absolutely incredible. The shelter is open from 5:30 at night till 8 in the morning generally. It's been such a bad winter this year that we've been able to get people to stay and keep the shelter open during the day on the really bad days. Particularly if the library's not open. We don't have a lot of places for our homeless people to go during the day. So they are able to stay at the library, or they go to McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts, but generally the library is the place of choice for them to be. I think it's important that the town think too about what we can do to address that issue. Most places have a plan for emergency shelter when the weather gets below a certain temperature, or if there's blizzards or anything like that. So I think it's important that be something that's considered. We really run on a shoestring budget. As you can see, we have approximately $35,000 annual budget. The majority of that supports the shelter, and the reason that we need more money for the shelter is that we do have to have some paid staff. Not much. We have a few part-time people that stay overnight at the shelter that are paid. We pay our coordinator, and everybody else is volunteer. We have probably about 200 volunteers that help us over the course of the year. Preparing food, coming in the morning to help folks out, just really helping us do a lot of different things that have to be done. The other piece of the puzzle with this is the local outreach program, and there's a separate sheet on that. Local outreach is 2 days a week at the First United Methodist Church, and it's a group of people that volunteer from Good Neighbor Fund, which is funded by local churches, Salvation Army, and the Samaritan Group. And what we do is we help people with emergency needs. They can come in once a year if they can't pay their utility bill and they're going to have their power turned off, or if they're getting ready to be evicted from their home. The main thing Samaritan Group is trying to address is homelessness and prevention of homelessness. So that's where we get really involved in it. So the reason I'm here is to ask for the town's support. We've never had any funding from the town. We lost a fairly good-sized grant this year that we used to get from Midshore Community Foundation. They decided not to fund homeless shelters this year, and I'm not really sure why. And until I can get that money back, that's about 10% of my budget. I'm not necessarily asking for money for this year, but I understand that you're getting ready to go into your budgeting process for next year, and I'd really appreciate it if you would help support the shelter. Because probably most of the people that we have in the shelter and that we help through local outreach are from Chestertown. There are others from the rest of the county, but you know, the bulk of the county lives in Chestertown, so that's really where we see most of the problem.
What was the size of the grant that you lost?
$3,500.
And what, I know that I've emailed with you, but could you tell these guys the specific amount that you will be requesting?
Well, I'm not going very big on this. I was kind of hoping maybe you would fund the rent that we pay the churches, which is $500 in January and then $600 in February and March. So if we could get $1,500 to $1,700 from you, that would be really a big help. If you can find your way clear to do a little bit more, that'd be good too.
And you did submit a letter to that effect, I believe, that you have in the
Yes.
file, Bill?
We have it in our budget file for next year too.
So if there's any other paperwork I need to fill out or any other information that you need, I'd be happy to share that and to do whatever needs to be done. But I'm also asking Rock Hall to support us too, because with local outreach particularly, there's a number of people from Rock Hall that get help too, so.
Are you always at the same church, or do you move around?
We're in, the last couple years, we've been at the Presbyterian Church and at First United Methodist Church. The last 2 years, we've been in January at the Presbyterian Church, and then we've moved to First United Methodist for February and March. Both churches are wonderful. The nice thing about being downtown is that people are closer to things, but also they have a shower, which is a huge help. But they're very generous with helping us out, especially with these extensions we've been doing during the day. This is the first year since I've been involved that we've ever needed to find some place for people to stay during the day, and it's really been important that we don't send them out into the snow and the cold at 8 o'clock in the morning with nothing but a bag lunch.
How long have you been doing this?
6 years. Dora's been three, third year. Yeah.
I probably shouldn't ask this because I'm afraid of what I'm going to answer. What do they do after January, February, and March?
Well, during the months that the shelter's open, Dora works with them to try to find some other place for them. Generally, we don't have anybody come the end of March that's out in the cold. Either we've made arrangements for them that put them in touch with other shelters if they still need that. Some people just need the time to be able to get on their feet and get all their ducks in order and find a place that they can live. I remember a couple years ago, we had a gentleman that was with us for most of the shelter, but then come April, he was able to get a room in town, at a local boarding house. And so Dora works really closely with them, and social services also works with them. We get other people that come in from Mobile Crisis and organizations like that help people with specific needs. A lot of these folks, they have mental issues that have to be dealt with. Everybody that comes into the shelter goes through social services first, because we have to make sure that the people in the shelter are safe. And that's something that people in town don't necessarily understand. We've been approached where people want to come, they pick somebody up and they want to come and just bring them to the shelter. And sometimes they've been drinking or drugging or whatever, and we just can't do that. We have to make sure everybody's sleeping in one big space, so we have to make sure that everybody's safe, including our volunteers.
What is the age breakdown?
That's an interesting question. I was looking at some of the statistics last night when I was putting these things together for you, and I think the average age this year is somewhere around 50. They're much older this year than they have been in the past. In the past, we used to get some young families. This year, it seems that, what's the
average middle age? 50, 51, 52.
Yeah, we get people in their 60s. And,
You don't have a lot of children then?
We don't this year. We have. We have had families, we have had kids in the past, but we have not had any that last year or this year. And I think maybe that reflects a little bit on what social services is able to do. They're much more able to help families with children than they are single adults or married couples.
You said that a lot of them have mental issues.
Some do, some do.
I said a lot, maybe I should have said some. Are those people, at one time, would they have been up to Upper Shore? Or?
Yeah.
So
We've lost a lot of services that we used to have.
Do you make referrals to Crossroads?
Yes, we do.
Did they take them right away?
They are very good about working with most of the folks, yeah. You have to get the people to cooperate, too.
Yeah, well, I know. I work in
Don't want to
Mount.
do that. But yeah, Crossroads is a big help.
Do you have thoughts on how you would go about establishing a warming center, daytime warming center? I think that's what they call them in Baltimore.
They do, and not right offhand, but it's certainly something I think it would be worth people
Because, I mean,
talking
I know
about.
I used to volunteer at the the Samaritan shelter, and I always felt bad for them going out into the cold on a really bad morning. It's a small place, we have limited, facilities and services available.
But it's difficult too, because a lot of people think we should have a 24/7 shelter, which would be wonderful, but we don't have the financial means here to do that. That's an expensive proposition. I was involved in that in Wilmington, and it's a lot of money, and we just really, we
No,
don't
I would
have a
think of
big
an
enough homeless
emergency,
population.
warming center.
We need an emergency
Yeah.
place, yes, you're absolutely right. And some people have thought maybe a community center, but then you have transportation
Yeah.
problem. So you really need to find something that's central to the needs. Okay,
Thank you very much.
appreciate your help and your time.
Appreciate you for
Thanks.
coming in.
You bet.
Okay, our next item is a presentation from Miles Barnard of South Fork Studio Landscape Architecture. Hello, Miles.
Hi, how's everybody?
Good.
So, I'm here to talk about, it's a little hard to think about the park on a day like today, but I had prepared a proposal back in November that I think everybody's seen at this point. There was kind of a continuation on some work that I had done, been hired by and done for the Garden Club, who, as you know, kind of manages the park, maintains the park. And that next step, the proposal that I prepared was to take a look at the obvious impacts that everybody sees from the farmer's market and other things impacting the lawn. Well, we see the lawn, it's really much deeper than that. It's really all about soils and the trees and the plants. So the proposal was to study a little bit more in depth exactly how bad the problem is, kind of where the worst areas are, and then come up with some proposals for how we would start to repair those things or remediate those things. And maybe some ways that we could not have to do this again, or at least understand if we were going to have to do this more in the future, maybe how often we would have to do it and what it might be. So that's what the proposal was for, and I understand that maybe you guys have some additional questions for me about the work.
I think there was several tripping points, and the first one was, hey, what if, I think people thought, okay, this is just for the grass, and if we fix the grass, then it'll get trampled again unless we do something about the location. But I think when we brought it in, there was a window where for both the trees and the grasses that this needed to be done anyway, no matter what we did, no matter whether we increased impervious surface, and maybe because we increased impervious surface. So I wanted you to come in and explain sort of that it's not just about the grass, it's about the whole park.
Yeah, I mean, the grass, we see the grass, we see where the grass isn't growing, that's the obvious thing. But what that tells us is that for the most part, the grass isn't growing because the soil has become compacted over time, mostly from people's feet. That's the most impactful thing from a soil standpoint. And so we're kind of at the, in the early stages of that, where at this point at least there isn't any obvious significant impact or dieback we're seeing from any of the trees, but this is when we want to catch it and go in there and like I said, have a better handle on how bad it is and what we can do to start to relieve it. I mean, if we were to all decide that say the farmer's market was going to completely leave the park and go to a new place and never come back again, I'd still say this should be done to try to restore the park soil profile so that the trees that are there and maybe future trees or plants that might go in will do well and thrive. So that's the general.
I'm sure you know, but we just created the study group
Yeah.
that studies sort of long-term plans for how we might alter the physical nature of the park, but also how we might use it differently. And they were going to report back to us in, I think, the second meeting in April. Would it make sense, if we were to hire you to do this study, to wait until their report is out so that your recommendations and their recommendations could be, we could just make sure that everybody's on the same page?
Aren't you coming to the next meeting? Our next meeting on Fountain Park?
I'm going to be away.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Because we were planning on you,
I had told Barb, she had asked me, and I had told her that I'd be away.
you'll be away on the 26th or the 12th?
The 12th.
Okay, we have another meeting on the 26th.
You're getting roped into it no matter what. Good try.
No, the 26th.
Yeah.
But to answer your question about coordination, definitely there should be coordination, but I think, a significant part of this work is just going out there and
Just
doing
check
some field work,
yeah.
taking soil samples and kind of understanding.
That's the question I have. I read your proposal, and some of it is you're going to talk to Mr. Anthony about the trees. And your fee's $2,500. And I'm just wondering, why couldn't we talk to Mr. Anthony about the trees? I think University of Maryland studies grass and so forth. Why, you're going to have consult with somebody else with that. So what you're actually doing is, you're not going to do any actual work though, right?
No, I'm actually going to be out there doing the work and then actually
What kind of work will you be
prepare a
doing?
report and then prepare recommendations and maybe soil details also that will instruct a contractor what needs to be done, what they'll do, and how to do it.
And then you are going to supervise the contractors doing it also, correct?
If that's what the mayor and council would like me to do, yes.
Okay.
Have you worked on
Was
these?
that extra beyond this $2,500?
Yeah, it's under supplemental services is construction administration. That's what that is.
So Miles, have you had experience with relieving soil compaction before? I know I lost a major tree in town for the same reason. And if so, what is your experience, if use patterns aren't changed, in how soon we might find ourselves in the same situation? Would it be 5 years or 2 years, or, with the kind of traffic we are permitting in the park right now, or in the summertime?
Yeah, I mean, if everything stayed the same,
Or would we even get grass well established? That's another question.
well, I mean, that's the big question obviously, in order to get the grass reestablished, you have to cordon off the area for...
Some time.
Yeah, for some time.
So we're looking at having to find an alternate
month
location
plus.
for the markets anyway.
Or
Temporarily.
significantly reduce the area of the park that can be used and sort of do certain areas in certain phases. But, I mean, it's possible that, that the first bit of work could be a significant amount of work to try to fix what's there, and then it could be, depending on how the park gets used, every couple of years, it could be real minor stuff that gets done in order to maintain that.
Well, this is what we're all taking into consideration with the committee, and it's open meetings. So we've had one. The next one is on the 12th, and then we have one on the 26th.
What time?
7.
7 o'clock? Here.
We have the committee, but we also have input from everybody else who came to the last meeting.
So, but I think the question for us now is, Miles has given us a proposal and a dollar amount. Do we want to move forward with having him analyze what needs to be done to the park?
I would rather wait until the committee finishes.
Okay.
I agree. I think we
Makes
should just
sense to
wait.
No, he won't get anything done this summer, right?
Not necessarily.
Oh, if we're just talking about whatever work is done, the final piece of that work is grass, whether it's seeding or sodding or whatever, however that's done. if it's seeding, there's a window in the spring, in the early spring, and there's a window in the fall. If it's sodding, that window is a little bit bigger. So, if it's seeding, I would say that, we wait for the, park committee to kind of come up with their recommendations and then circle the wagons and figure out what we're doing. We may miss that spring
Yeah.
window. I'm not saying that's the end of the world, just so everybody understands. You may be looking at doing the actual work in the fall or
Yeah.
doing something that's followed by sod. I know there's irrigation out there, so we can.
Was there irrigation in the ground for the
Oh,
lawn?
absolutely, irrigation. I wanted Miles to come here in case we were in a window when the park activities weren't there, where we could get a quadrant analyzed, uncompacted, and planted, and cordoned off so that it could gel or whatever. I mean, how ground is when it's fresh and freshly seeded. People sink up to there until the ground sort of tightens up a bit. So that's why I brought Miles forth, and that's why I was sort of urging in December that we do this, because unless we make changes, and they may never make changes on where the activities are, it can be a lot greener than it is now. It's been compacted for years, and we sometimes the market went on till December 31st, took a 2-week break and started up again, so there was never a window. So I think the park committee, we talked about, not the park committee, but the garden club, we talked about taking a quadrant out, one quarter of it, doing that, and then moving people around until the whole thing was done, and then watching it fairly carefully. But I don't think the analysis would be lost, and I
But there's no
think
activity
if
there.
you are there with the garden club, then,
Right now.
what's that?
We were having
I'm
a side
sorry.
conversation,
If
sorry.
that you can work with the garden club, and I think they'll end up recommending the same thing. That we do this professionally, that we look at this and not try to do it ourselves.
Yeah, I expect they'll say that.
Yep.
All right, so what do we want to do?
I mean,
I'd
how
rather-
many meetings do we have scheduled for?
They were going to report to us at our second meeting in April, I think, was the initial plan.
We have, our first meeting was February 26th. We have a meeting March 12th, March 26th, and I don't have anything in April.
Yeah, they wanted to report back in April, I remember
Yeah,
that.
April 21st, I think that they said they were going to come to
We're
the
a
council.
combination of the garden club,
Right.
me because it's my ward, farmers market,
DCA.
Artisans.
yeah, DCA, and artisans, and
I think it makes sense to get their recommendations first, and then if we think we need Mr. Bonner, we'll hire him.
Is there a scenario you envision where the soil there would not be a recommendation to restore the soil and replant grass?
I think part of it is there may be some potentially significant physical changes, so where would that happen would be the
Yeah,
question.
I think
I see what you're
what
saying,
I would
like,
do in this proposal probably would have no...
Bearing on it.
What we would come up with would have no bearing on what physical changes, expansion of paving or
yeah,
walls or whatever will have. The two, this wouldn't change based on that.
Right.
It would still be, this area's got these problems and it should be reviewed in this way and that kind of thing. And I'm not pushing, I'm just
No, and you're
stating
not
reality.
pushing, I just think
Nobody's going to
that
say don't do it.
we need a guideline, that the kind of thing that you would do would be a guideline that we used every year.
Yeah.
So if we don't do it, we'll still need to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
all right, well, let's make a decision. I'm hearing you guys say we should wait till the recommendations.
I'd rather wait.
Pardon?
I'd rather wait.
I'd rather wait, that's 3 of us.
Okay.
Sorry, but I mean,
No, no,
we're
I
gonna.
think we're gonna get back to you in late April. I know, okay. Thank you for coming in, and
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll be talking to you
Yep.
soon.
All right, no problem.
Okay, thanks, Miles. Okay, the next item is, basically, I would like to redesign the town's website, and I campaigned in this in part. I've talked to our current web providers, and they're aware of it. And so what I asked Sam actually to do, since he is the youngest and probably the most tech savvy of all of us, was to talk to his colleagues at Washington College, talk to folks that he knows in the web design industry, and look at our current site and come up with some feedback that they would give about our current site. So that's what's going to happen first, is that Sam's going to pull up our existing website and basically come up with what other folks were saying would be their recommendations. Then we're going to have a concurrent presentation by Michael Wooten, and maybe, are you going to also be talking, Karen? But Karen works with Michael Wooten, who is our current web designer, and they will be telling us about what's possible through them. And then I would like us to potentially make a decision on how we would like to move forward with our website. Assuming we can get the technology to work.
I have a little PowerPoint that I'm going to share. Like you said, we already have the browser. We'll just use this. Okay, I missed the conversation that was going on. How do I look at this, but...
I know, you have to kind of really look up there and move the mouse.
Oh, that's hard. There you go.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I don't know why it's not coming up on the screen, but.
You're the next to the
There
youngest.
you go.
What was that?
I thought you were the tech savvy. Yeah, maybe I picked the wrong
Trust
council
me,
member.
he's more tech savvy than I, I'm sure.
That was a joke.
There's a lot of them.
So,
High-speed internet we have here
Yeah.
at Town Hall.
more reason to get fiber optic.
It's right outside of our window.
Yeah, how did we not get it?
Well, you can talk to the county commissioners about why we don't have it.
Millington and Galena. No, it's a,
No, I have a little PowerPoint that I was gonna share. So, I guess what I can do is just bypass all this. The only thing is I have a lot of
What's
nice
it?
pretty pictures.
Yeah, what's
So-
the issue, Case? What, is it on our
I'm
site?
not sure. Is it?
Just trying to bring up
Just trying to
my,
get into Zebras.
yeah, just trying to bring up my email so I can get my
It's
PowerPoint.
on our Wi-Fi?
it's going. Look at that.
It should be
There's like
on.
5 green cars.
Is it though?
Actually, I see an X here, so something's...
Close your eyes, everybody. We're gonna be putting in a password.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be asterisk.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully this goes a little bit quicker.
DSL, it should be faster. Yeah, it's fairly fast, but especially at night.
It's all those kids at the college. They're all online, taking all the
If I
bandwidth.
anticipated this, I would have just put it on a flash drive, but unfortunately cannot predict the future.
Okay, so are we on our Wi-Fi here?
Yeah.
Okay, and
The only thing I could suggest is switching browsers.
That's what I was gonna say, or too many open.
Okay. Let's take a look. That looks like it's going to be just as slow.
We're going to the college website, Sam?
Say that again?
Is that where we're going to college, to the college website?
No, I'm just trying to access my email so I
Oh.
can get to the PowerPoint that I had put together. And the main reason why I want to access that presentation is just because it has a lot of visual information that I want to share in regards to social media integration into the website. So it's kind of important. So if you just bear with me. Would it be possible, I mean, I don't know how the agenda is structured, but would it be possible to skip these next two sections and go straight to
Sure.
the town manager report, and then we'll get back to this.
Okay. The first thing I have on my agenda is a step pool conveyance bid opening. Case? Ready?
So I think a lot of you have already heard that located across from the Freeze, on the other side of Washington Avenue, is a valley between the property that is owned by Lamont and Washington College. It's an area that has seen a lot of stormwater, and basically it's an area that receives about 52 acres worth of mostly impervious surface that's located on the east side of Washington Avenue. We're talking about Kent Plaza, Sheila Road, and some of the areas to the northeast from that location, as well as stormwater that flows down the west side of Route 213, Washington Avenue, into that valley. And if you recall, up until about a year ago, before the MTA finally pushed a stormwater pipe through the railroad bed there, that area could get dammed up to the point where we had a new lake in Chestertown. So the conditions there really cried out for something to handle the stormwater going through that site, and so what's proposed for that location is a step pool conveyance, which is a series of three pools, essentially, that capture stormwater. The Freeze is located right here. Here's Route 213, and essentially it captures the stormwater going into that valley through a series of these three pools.
So is there a culvert, or is there a storm drain under the street?
There are three culverts, one coming from Sheila Road, one coming from essentially the Freeze property, and another one that is currently inactive that is reserved for additional stormwater management that we could do on the Kent Plaza.
So the Kent
property.
Plaza parking lot, where does that water go right now? Does it just sit there?
Kent Plaza was built before stormwater regulations came into effect, so there's really no
Doesn't go anywhere.
Except for ditches and I believe
Potholes.
there's actually one stormwater inlet above the Freeze next to China House and that side of Kent Plaza. But other than that, there really isn't anything on the Kent Plaza property proper. So, as I said, the step pool conveyance is what's proposed for that location. That's something that was designed with the assistance of DNR, and Kevin Sharon is here from DMS. He's the engineer for the project. The project has been going on for about 3 years now, and we have funding from DNR. It started with a grant of $85,000 to design and start the implementation of the project. And since that time, we've received another approximately $425,000. So we have approximately $500,000 to put towards this stormwater conveyance. Permitting for this project has been incredibly complicated, in part because this type of stormwater infrastructure is relatively new. It's a type of design that recreates natural water flow, creates habitat, and in addition to, helping break up that stormwater flow and so forth. It's a new enough technology that getting it permitted took about 2.5 years. And by permitting, I'm talking about federal, state, and local agencies, EPA, MDE, Army Corps of Engineers, and so forth. So it's been a long road, and partly due to the permitting delays, we're running up against an early June of this year deadline for the completion of this project. So we've got a fairly tight window caused in part by that permitting delay. So about a month ago...
Is that a June deadline to finish the project?
Yes. Yeah. And extensions are possible, but still we're operating on a fairly tight schedule. So an RFP, we issued an RFP about a month ago. The responses came in, and the most important qualification that had to be met in that RFP is that the contractor had to meet the qualification that they have experience, 5 years of experience in STEMPL conveyances, regenerative stormwater conveyances, which is a very similar type of stormwater device or equivalent. So really they had to have very strong experience in projects of this scale and type that requires a fairly specialized type of experience. So that RFP went out, the responses came in, and after analyzing the proposals that came in, and with the concurrence of the engineer and DNR, we selected the middle bidder in the 5 proposals that came in.
You say we, who's we? You.
I said, yes.
I thought you said we, but you selected.
Well, I selected, and I got...
Okay, I've got some questions, of course, about that, and I'll get to that in a minute.
So, again, the bidders had to provide evidence of this experience.
Who established that criterion? Was that from the state, or?
Who put in the 5 years?
Yeah.
Was that yours? Was that your idea?
The 5 years was
Right.
mine. and-
Okay.
I can understand wanting to have experienced people, but I think let me give you an example. And I'm going to bring it home to you. If in a few years Bill Ingersoll decided to retire, and we wanted to hire another town manager, and you've worked side by side with him for 10 years, and we put in there, you have to be 5 years a town manager or you can't apply for this job. Wouldn't you think you were a little bit excited since you'd been here all this time and worked with him? We have one of our local contractors who is willing to do it for $100,000 less. His business is here, his employees live here. That money will stay in this area. Those employees will go to our grocery stores and so forth. These people in Millersville are going to take that extra $100,000, $300,000, and they're going to spend it over there. Now, I made some copies for them. I've got letters vouching for Unity, saying how great they are and how good they do, and you even admit that. They've done. Let me finish, and then you can talk.
I thought I was giving my presentation before you jumped.
They have done great work for us. And another thing about them is, if they do screw it up, they're only in Church Hill. We can go get them. we got to go after Millersville and bring them back over here, and they're going to bring all those people, and that's that $100,000 because he's coming over here. This guy's saying this. I think to not give it to the lowest bidder, you have to have a compelling reason. And I don't think we have a compelling reason other than the fact that you thought 5 years. I would have said,
They don't have
wait a
1
minute
year.
now,
They don't
please,
have 1
let me finish and then you can criticize me all you want. You could have put in there 5 years of this or compatible experience. And he said all kinds of other things. He had 35 projects he showed you that he's done. The woman from Perryville did quite a job up there, and she just fall all over herself saying what a great job he did. I don't think there's anybody in this council that doesn't think he did a super job. Look, by the way, I knew him when he was a teenager, and I'm not going to get into how I knew him as a teenager. That's my only acquaintance with him. But he called me to ask me, is there some kind of, before I knew that he wasn't, is there some kind of an appeal? And I said, why do you want to appeal? You got the lowest bid, because that's what I had. I said, you don't need to appeal a low bid. He said, I was disqualified. And then I said, well, what was the reasons? And he told me, and I said, well, send me this correspondence. And send that around to Linda.
We've got it. You got it.
We have an engineer that files that he's done the same kind of work and can do it. You know, the Bay Bridge, we're not building the Bay Bridge, by the way. That's a little less technical than that. The Bay Bridge was built by people who had never built a bridge. When they built the second one, they didn't say, have you built 5 bridges? So, you know, it's not that he can't do the job. And I can't see sending $300,000 to Millersville when we can keep it right in here in this community. And then you say, well, we got $400,000 to spend, and it's state and federal money. Well, last time I looked at my income tax, I paid state and federal taxes. I'm against spending any extra money than we don't have to. Now you can go ahead and start criticizing.
Well, I'm not going to criticize you.
Well, I'm open for it.
I'm telling you that when, and you know this from previous RFPs, the town reserves the right, first of all, in all of the RFPs.
I agree with that.
With RFPs to accept or reject any and all bids. The qualifications that were put in that bid were, as I explained, partly in response to the fact that this project was very difficult to get permitted. It's a project that has...
Did they tell you had to have 5 years to permit people?
No, but if you'll let me just finish what I'm saying. The EPA, Army Corps of Engineers, MDE, DNR, other agencies are watching this project, and it was a major concern of mine that this project be done by a fully qualified contractor who has built these types of facilities before and has the depth of experience to be able to adjust in the field to conditions that a landscaping firm, quite honestly...
He's not just a landscaper.
He's not just a landscaping firm.
He does more than that. He's done stormwater.
And I worked very closely with Michael Jensen and Unity on Remembrance Park. I fully believe in their capability as far as that type of construction. And quite honestly, before the RFP went out and after the RFP went out, I spoke with his project manager and said, look, if you're going to bid on this, there's a qualification that has to be met in there. And if you need to go out and get somebody to act as a consultant or as a consulting engineer.
Right here.
No, that is not his consultant engineer. That's an engineer who has been hired previously by Unity to do work for them, who wrote a letter of support for Unity, and so in any event, Bill, I don't know if you want to add something, or Kevin, if I've missed anything.
No, I don't think I need to add anything unless there were questions.
Well, I did a little reading on step pool conveyances. And you're right, it is a new technology. I'm not quite clear how new. And why the permitting has been, is the permitting difficult because it's a new
Yes.
technology? I mean, I read about, the different kinds of filter beds that go under the ponds to purify the water, just because that's kind of my field.
But you have plans for
But,
this, right?
so do the other companies have 5 years? That's what I'm driving at. I mean, obviously,
Yes.
you would disqualify them if they didn't
The
do it
company
fair.
that is,
How long have they been building them? I mean, how long
5
have,
years.
how long have these things been around?
they've probably been around about 7 or 8
Yeah.
years.
So it's not a
Somebody
big
had to
deal.
build the first one though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a
So,
company
and
that
then,
developed this, they were actually.
I mean, if we limited, if all these things are limited to 5 years' experience, pretty soon there's not going to be anybody able to do it except people who have already done it for 15 years because nobody has the 5 year. It doesn't make sense to me to send $300,000 to Millersville when we can get it done for $200,000 by a local person who, did you draw the plans?
Yes, sir.
Don't you think that most people who do that kind of work could follow your plans? They're pretty simple, aren't they?
Well, the only thing I would
Beds are
add is, this type of stormwater system is not, it's not an exact science. It's not like building a foundation for a building where, it's gotta be square and plumb and that's it. This is, we've laid out the plans, we've done all the hydraulics, but there are also field conditions that need to be analyzed and responded to in the field. And so that's where we feel the experience is most needed for the contractor. As Case said, we were not opposed to somebody that didn't have that experience bringing somebody on as a consultant during the construction that could be in the field doing that, but we didn't feel that the two lowest bidders brought that to the table.
Well, I think he could probably do that without any problem and would do that and would probably still save us a lot less than $100,000 and it wouldn't go to Millersville. I'm really interested in keeping that money over here on the shore, keeping our people working, keeping our people going into our stores and spending their money into our stores.
Sure.
We got a fair share of unemployment, and a lot of them are the kind of people who do that kind of work. And I'd really like to see that thing stay here. Now, I also have...
Can I add something to that? The only thing about that is, there's a lot of material in this job, and so it's not that $100,000 going to Millersville. There are going to be quarries that are getting a lot of it, whether it was done by local contractors or a contractor out of Millersville. It requires large boulders and a lot of stone, a lot of things that are quarried not from around here. So regardless of the contractor and where he's located, a lot of that money is coming from or going elsewhere.
Yeah, well,
Marty, I guess a counter argument to what you're saying, I agree, whenever we can hire local, we should, but if that's what we want to do, why bid it out? Why not say right in the bid document, only apply to this job if you're within a 25-mile radius of Chestertown?
Well-
You want that competition so you can get the widest variety of applicants that you can and make it competitive. So I understand what you're saying philosophically, but I don't think that's always practical. And I do agree that when you have all these federal and state agencies watching this project, that, as much as I love Unity and I respect them as a local company, and they've done great work for the town, and I hope they will continue to, I don't know if we want them debuting on this project. I can totally understand both sides, but at the end of the day...
I can understand it up to maybe $50,000, but $120,000 going out of the county is just wrong. It's just wrong. It shouldn't, and you can say, well, it's not your money, it's state money or federal money or whatever it is. It is my money, because I pay state and federal taxes. And I think, quite frankly, we can get in more trouble by turning down a low bid than we can by giving it to somebody with a low bid, because somebody could say, what are you doing? Wait, the federal people might come in and say, why did you not take that $200,000?
I could have bid on this project and put in a bid of $50,000, but you wouldn't hire me because I don't do this. So that's why you have to have those qualifications in there.
5 years of experience was put on by him. It could have been 3 years of experience, or when you go to take a job sometimes, and you may not be a town manager, but you've worked around town managers, you have experience that fits into that, then you would get that job.
Marty,
You might not have built those kind of things, but you've built other small storm drains, small drain fields. You've done landscaping, you've done that kind of work. Then that experience counts too. He's been in the business for quite a long time. As I said, I do not know Michael, except I knew him when he was 17 years old. And that's
I agree, they
my-
do great landscaping. I just don't know that they're in this particular business. Yes, there's landscaping involved, but that's not really,
Just to be clear, the RFP did state 5 years of experience in this type of construction or equivalent. So they had the opportunity, when they submitted their bid, to put the equivalent of that type of experience into their proposal. And I did not find that evidence in their bid. So quite simply,
Did you look at all 35 of the projects he sent
he
you?
didn't send 35 projects, he only sent about 6, and one of them included the project that he did for me, or for the town at Remembrance Park, where I worked closely with him to build a Remembrance
Well, I think
Park.
5 years of experience in building little holes there is too stringent.
Why is this particular project under the magnifying glass from the state and federal agencies?
Well, again, it's a new enough type of construction on...
I know Anne Arundel
whether
County's
it's
building a
particular
bunch.
to the eastern shore, but Kevin and I went to what's known as a jurisdictional evaluation meeting last January, where, because we had met on the site, we thought we really had a win-win all the way around, that this was a known entity, and it was the EPA that stopped it in its tracks and said, we, the EPA, don't have proof that this type of conveyance actually works. So we had to have a big interagency senior officials meeting on the site that February to discuss that. They discussed more among themselves. Eventually, it did get permitted with, I think...
I saw references to quite a lot of projects on the internet.
Yeah, this is something that's getting built...
In Anne Arundel.
In Anne Arundel
Yeah.
County. They've figured out how to get these built, but permitting has been a problem, and they are...
Let me ask you this. If you had $250,000, $250,000, and that's all you had coming from the state and federal government, would you have said, I can't take that bid, I want you to come in here and ask us to come up with $125,000 more dollars? Would you have done that?
That's a hypothetical that I
I
can't answer.
don't think you would have. I think you would have said, geez, we're lucky, we got it $8,000 cheaper than $250,000. I think this extra $125,000 comes from the fact that it's state and federal money and not town money. And I think that's wrong, plus the fact we're sending it over to Millersville, so.
all right, well, we know very clearly where Marty stands. Where do you guys stand?
Well, they responded to the RFP. I mean, in all fairness, the RFP went out, and the qualifications were in the RFP, they met the deadline.
He thought
All
his
the bidders.
qualifications were there. He hadn't built those, but he's done all kinds of other stormwater work and so forth, and erosion. Did you read the letter from the people from
The
Perryville?
qualifications were spelled out in the
The
RFP.
qualifications were spelled out. I also saw the letters after the fact. The point was that in an RFP, whether it's a grant proposal or a job application, you have the one opportunity to put your best foot forward. And as I said, I've spoken to them personally and said, look, if you want to build this project, it is the qualifications that you have to meet, and if I highly recommend that you go with, partner up with someone to...
Well, I'll tell you one thing, I'm going to watch it very closely, because I want to see how technical that thing is, that it couldn't be done by somebody that does that kind of work on a smaller scale. I don't know, how do you start in that business if everybody puts 5 years of experience on you? How do you get into doing those drains if you haven't done it before? Somebody has to start someplace. As I said, the Bay Bridge was built by people who had never built a bridge before. They didn't go up and say, well, you built the Delaware Memorial Bridge, so you can build us. Nobody else can build a bridge. I mean, if you're an engineer or you're a worker to do that kind of work, you can do that. He has no doubt in his mind that he can do that exactly to his plans.
Has any other body come forward and said that Unity wasn't qualified enough for the job?
Has anybody else come?
Yeah, or has it just been from your judgment that, you know, they weren't qualified enough to do the project?
Yes.
They didn't have the requirement.
So like with all the other federal and state organizations who have been involved, they haven't actually come forward and said that.
When the bids came in and I did my bid analysis, I shared that bid analysis with DNR and with Kevin Sharon. And DNR said, we're good with the decision that you made. And Kevin likewise concurred.
Okay. So they supported your decision in saying that Unity wasn't qualified?
That they did not respond with
Did you ask
That's a
him if
negative.
he was qualified? Did you give him the same information he sent you? The people who you talked to with DNR and so forth? Or you just say, well, look, we've selected these people from Millersville, what do you think of them, or whatever? I'm just not quite sure how you arrived at that 5-year, what made you put 5 years in there? Could you put 4 years or 3 years or 2 years?
Of course, and that's why I
10
said.
years?
And that's why I said in the RFP that it was.
How did you
or
come up with
equivalent.
5 years? That's what I want to know. Just tell me how you come up with 5 years. What was your rationale for saying 5 years?
5 years is a good amount of time.
Yes, it is. It certainly is.
To be involved in the
You can
construction.
graduate from
itself.
college and get a master's degree. Go ahead.
All right, what do we need to do here to either move this
Well, they get a
forward?
motion one way or the other on the floor.
Well, has Environmental Quality Resources been informed that they were the winning bidder?
No.
Could we reissue this RFP and tone that thing down to the point where you have 5 years of experience in something, either building those things or something equal to it?
That was what was in the RFP. It was.
I know, you wrote it in there, but you can't tell me why you put 5 years in there. You could have put 3 years or equivalent experience.
It says
Couldn't you
equivalent.
put 3 years or equivalent experience?
It says or equivalent experience.
But you did that, but why couldn't you do that?
He did do that.
Again,
he's
as I
trying to
said, I think you would feel the same way about it if Bill was to quit tomorrow and we said, no, you can only
Why is
apply
that
for the
always
job
an
if you had
example?
5 years.
Why is that the example?
You would say, oh my God, I've worked in here for 2 years, how come you can do that to me?
Well, Marty, I think you've been very passionate about what you're saying, but anything that you do is done by motion here, so.
Well,
Does everybody have all, other than you?
I know
does
he told Michael that this is the final word, there is no appeal, but here's the final word. We vote the final word.
Always.
Right. And it's not Keys, it's the town's council. He makes recommendations, so.
Can I ask something?
That's what should have been said.
Is any of that on Lamont's property or Washington College's
It's on
property?
It's on both. It straddles the two.
Right through the
And there's
middle
an
of the
easement-
valley,
There's an
basically.
easement that runs right through.
So do Lamont and Washington College know that this is going
Yes,
on their property?
yes. They have,
And
they have the plans.
They've given permission and go
Yes.
ahead and...
It's an advantage to them.
Oh, by the way, Case, I personally think if he left tomorrow, you would be qualified, very much so. I just thought I'd bring that up to your attention.
Thanks. I think-
Because even though you haven't been a town manager for 5 years, you've been around the business, so.
Man, this can't help me a bit.
All right, look, we got to make a decision, folks. Marty's intimating that we rebid the whole thing. Does anybody else have another idea? And if so, somebody needs to make a
Well, I'd
motion.
really like to say that we go ahead and awarded to Unity Landscaping for $100,000 less than what is recommended.
Make the motion.
I'll make a motion, we issue it to Unity Landscaping. No seconds? Well, I'm so used to being 4-1, it doesn't make any difference to me.
No, that's how you do it, though. It fails for, are there any seconds?
How about I make a motion, reissue it with the qualifications that most of these people can qualify for? Anybody second that?
I don't like tailoring the RFP to fit a particular company.
Did we get a copy of that RFP before it was issued? I don't think so. I don't remember reading it. I'd kind of like to see them.
I mean, I think the simple fact of the matter is, Case knows this much better than we do. I mean, he has a much better understanding of the big picture when it comes to choosing these. So let's defer to his judgment.
I tend to agree. I mean, we hire people and basically delegate responsibilities, and we need to trust that they know what they're doing. And I
like Case too. I just think that this thing could be built, saving us $120,000. And the money would stay here in Eastern Shore, that's all I'm saying.
I understand.
If you want to send your money to Millersville, do it.
But it's also about doing the project right the first time. I mean, we could bid this out for $120,000
You know what, you counsel, if this thing gets screwed up, let me see you go over to Millersville and get them back over here, where I could go down to Churchill and say, look, Mike, get your butt up there and get it straightened out. So you better hope it's done right.
One has a far
If the
greater
total
likelihood
grant
of
isn't
being
used,
done
does
right
it
the
have to
first
be
time.
returned?
Sure.
Yes. Well, no, I mean, the balance of the grant, there's an amount that's available, and the difference, we don't get that money physically. It's on a reimbursement basis, so whatever we spend gets reimbursed, so
do
we're not
So do we have $500,000 to put out?
No.
It's
like a pass-through money.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We have to spend $500,000.
No, we don't.
Could spend it, but I don't think you'll get there.
We get paid after we spend it.
We'll get reimbursed for the actual expenses up to 500 and...
Well, the entire project will be reimbursed, but we potentially have we have potentially have about $520,000 that we could spend, but the project is coming in substantially less than that.
All right, look, nobody seconded Marty's motions. Do we need a motion
You
to
need some-
accept the bid as,
Yeah, you need a motion to be passed by the council in
Yeah.
some fashion.
but I can't be the person to make the motion, yeah.
I move that we accept the bid as is.
What was the motion? Accept the third highest bid? Is that what it was?
Environmental quality
No, he said
resources.
accept the bid as is.
So the group that Case thought was most qualified, give me the name one more time?
Environmental Quality Resources LLC.
Okay. Environmental Quality Resources LLC. I move that we accept the bid from Environmental Quality Resources LLC.
I'm sure as heck not going to second it, I'll tell you that.
I'm seconding it reluctantly. I don't like this process.
You can't second something reluctantly.
I'll second the motion.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Not happy.
Nay.
May the record show that it passed by a vote of 4-1. Okay.
Now, Sam, did you get on?
I think I did. Now it's asking for Washington College's password information. That I don't have.
I hope the council will read those two letters when you get a chance. I would have gotten them to you earlier. Couldn't get them printed.
We were there before.
Yeah, so it looks like originally as I was trying to log in, we were kicked off the internet. So we logged back in, and here it goes. We'll give this just a few moments. If this doesn't work, Mike, you can go ahead and give your presentation.
Do we get
Just keep
knocked
this
off
thing.
by not using
There's
this?
a couple more people in the county.
It's scrolling, it's working, it's just really slow for some reason.
It's trying to
I
work.
called Pat Diver to try to find out if there was anything else in the building that was really, you know, downloading or whatever, and there shouldn't be. So you are on the internet though?
That's what it looks like.
Okay.
Is the laptop wireless right now?
Yep.
I wonder if you could download the presentation on one of the desktop machines to a flash drive and just bring the flash drive.
We were looking for a flash
Yeah, we
drive.
couldn't find a flash drive.
What?
Case,
I do not have one in my purse.
We never use flash drives.
everyone's pulling them out of their pockets now, like, oh yeah, he should have said, I know, Pete has one, he carries one on his zipper.
I get that on my screen a lot.
Reception must be bad in here, in this room.
In this room, no, that could possibly be it.
What you gave me wasn't.
Wasn't one?
It must have been just a wireless receiver for like
Yeah.
wireless.
I think that Cage usually does his around his lanyard and I couldn't find it.
Good Lord. You carry it down. They talk about women's purses.
Oh, Pete has one.
Got one. Okay.
Ta-da.
Right.
Don't even.
Be back in Flash.
If we only had $250,000, he would have got it even better on that.
Oh, did we get a flash drive?
Yeah.
Good. Looks like it's loading now, it should come right on.
It'll be finished when he.
Well, he'll come back
the
in with the
flash
flash
drive.
drive and his presentation will be up there.
Cable repairman will come as soon as you leave the house.
Good old Verizon comes through again. Good old Verizon comes through again. I lost my internet a bunch of times this last week.
I think they're subject to loading and stuff like that. I think there's so many people using it.
Use a lamp
It could be the fact that there's walls between our Wi-Fi and the other room. We don't use this a lot.
I don't know how often that
But I think we need to hardwire it, you know? Yeah.
Bryson wouldn't,
Gotta love technology, man.
You better hope that project goes nice and smooth.
What do I have to do with it? I tried to stick away from getting dragging me into it like a substitute.
Well, that was more for the phone
That's
one.
too stringent, 5 years. You don't do that. You say 3 years or 5 years with a comparable experience. I mean,
So what do you do
that's
for your
just-
phone?
The things haven't been around that long, for crying out loud.
I don't have any trouble with that.
Wait
It's not
for your
that
line.
hard. It's not brain surgery.
Well, you don't.
Ditches with
You're
stone.
very water.
He gets everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
He's got his recovery time, it's just like that.
I think we should let Mike go first.
Oh.
So do I. And that's what Sam said.
Yeah. Michael, why don't you do your talk, and then we'll.
Oh, so I have to play with this thing, see if I can make it work, okay?
Hey,
I'll
if you
just
do,
get
just
out of
think
all that.
What a leg up that gives you.
Well, yeah, then I don't get to repeat whatever. All right, let's see,
We'll give you a chance.
there's part one.
This is like the struggle everyone has at home anyways. Okay. So you do. Oh, I don't mean just with computers.
All right.
You ever think that maybe Mike put some kind of sabotage?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's what it is.
You got good ears, Mike.
All right, just want to say good evening, Mayor and Council, and audience, and I guess the press too. My name is Michael Woodman, and I'm here representing Chesapeake Bay Internet Associates, along with Karen Ashley, our designer and graphic artist. And we're very much looking forward to the scheduled redesign of the Chestertown website, and are very much enthusiastic about the enthusiasm the council is showing at this time to move forward with this project, because it's been kind of held up for a while. To start the discussion, I just want to give a real brief overview of where the current site stands. Lots of board numbers so you can go to sleep.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
Sure.
Like-
Does this help any?
Yeah.
Does that help any? Yes,
Not really,
Okay.
just talk louder.
Talk louder, okay. The site in the last 12 months has had 242,000 visits approximately, and that is people looking at the website. And it's had 932,000 page views, which is how many different places they go clicking through, looking at actual pages, and 3 million hits. Now, a hit is simply defined as Liz goes to the website, that's a hit. She goes to the government page, that's 2 hits. So every time she clicks inside the website, that's a hit. The number looks real big, and a lot of people only use that number, but it's really not that relevant. Page views is more important than visitors. The most visited pages have been, it goes up and down as to which one is the highest, but lodging, dining, events, and government pages get the most traffic. And just as a little bit of amusement, the task force report, in the month of February alone, it had 4,846 hits.
That's almost everybody in Chestertown.
Well, and that's interesting because it's a PDF file, so it's not people clicking within the pages of that 44 report. That's 4,000 times people opened that PDF file. So somebody looked at it a lot.
Yeah.
The other number that's very important to the whole idea of what we do is that KentCounty.com was the 3rd largest referrer, sending people to Chestertown.com behind direct access, somebody knowing to type in the URL, and Google. So it's very important to remember the process we built this around was the interactivity between these sites, serving people back and forth to each other. So I actually wrote this out so I wouldn't go to sleep quite so badly. Okay, a lot has changed since we did the website last time around. A lot of technologies have changed. There's been a lot of discussion of adding online videos. You can use Vimeo, you can use YouTube, a number of sources for that. Multiple sliders or slideshow on various pages. Emphasis on extended visits. This is one of the things that Chris mentioned repeatedly in his campaign, was to draw people to the county not just to come for Tea Party, but for the whole weekend. And the best way to approach that is make sure that you understand that most of the information that you want for the public to get is already on the county website. So our goal would not be to reinvent the wheel, but to create splash pages to interest people and send them off to get the information on the county site, rather than have to try to put it up again. Duplicate. And of course, we have the continued use of the shared databases, the lodging, the shopping, the restaurants are all shared among all 3 sites, Rock Hall, Chestertown, and Kent County, so that if I'm on Kent County and I decide I want to look at Rock Hall or Chestertown, they'll see the same information. Won't have to worry about somebody having the wrong prices, the wrong dates. It all goes up once and everybody has it. So that's the purpose behind the databases. Okay, challenges and options to a new site. Our latest stats are showing us that approximately 20% of viewers coming to the Chestertown site are using smartphones and tablets, which is the growing trend everybody's talking about. The marketing forces are making us go that way. They're telling us we should go that way. So we're going to have to deal with that or you build the site next time around to make it viable on these small screens. So that's something we have to consider. Content management systems is a method of making a website so a non-coder can do a lot of the work on updating and maintaining a page. It has its good and bad points, I'll go into those a little bit later, but it's something we can look at. And there's been some talk of splitting the site into 2, one for tourism and one for the government information. And one of the only logical reasons for that is a lot of people seem to be upset that they can't get everything right on the homepage. They want to know that meeting night right now. You know, all they have to do is push one button, they can get it. But they want it on that homepage. And putting a lot of government information on the homepage is counterproductive to bringing tourists. which is what the site was primarily built for. So we have those options to deal with. You can go and look at we have been around for plus or minus 20 years. It was founded by Hugh and Gwen Williams, who started the whole process. He went around to the towns and the county and sold them on the idea of building this website complex. We've been in business for that long. Everybody in the business, except for a couple of our part-time people, are local. We all know the area. We know what works in the area over the years. And we have a very strong relationship with the county tourism office because of the Kent County site. And quite frankly, a lot of information we need for Chestertown comes through them, because they know first, for whatever reason. So there's a lot of interactivity going on there. We're not just a web design company. We have experience in design, production, graphic design, illustration, photography, and copywriting, either with our staff or we can get it. So it's kind of like one-stop shopping. You don't have to hire a writer and go hire a graphic artist. We can provide the whole package. And I just want to end this very quickly with a few samples of what we're doing currently. This is a recent launch, the National Music Festival. This is truly an international site in the sense that they draw musicians from all over the world to see this site. This is a content management program. They'll be doing 90% of the work on it, calling us up when they break it. But, you know, it happens. You know, we can fix it with some things we have to do back in that they don't have access to. One of the things it has on here is like a dozen different complex forms for musicians to supply information. So we can create interesting forms if you need them for applying for an application or a permit, whatever. You can do it. We can set those up. This one even has the ability for the musicians to upload music samples. So they get it all in one package. This was a launch last fall, Chestertown Character Counts. This is also a CMS program. Now, the one thing about these two sites is you're not going to find these in a template somewhere online. These are all custom-made, hand-designed programs. You're just not going to find a template where all this stuff fits in. You've got to build it from scratch if you want it to be as flexible as you need. And this one has various news feeds and blogs and access to social media. It has Facebook and Twitter and a couple other things. We're working with it. We can also take Facebook or blogs and feed that information to the front page if you wanted to, like the most two recent events, which show remote places to help marketing. And then we do the historical side. This is a standard design site, in which it's all code, no management program. They don't have the staff or the ability to do that. And again, it's quite involved. Ken on the Move was a site. They asked us to build them a site. Marty likes to talk about his tax dollars, but it's kind of like we're paying our tax dollars to them to tell us we're too fat. That's basically what that's doing, how to eat healthy, exercise healthy, the whole thing. They maintain things. This is what we call kind of a hybrid. The yellow box over here in the corner is a custom CMS that we build where they can change their bulletin board themselves, just on a web page, on a URL. So it just doesn't affect anything else. It can't hurt anything or break anything. Just put in what they want to put in, and that works well. Because it's not always, and we find many times that the client doesn't need to dot every I and cross every T on the site. There's certain specific areas they want to update. Jen updates the minutes and the agenda herself, and the planning minutes and everybody else's minutes. So it's more a matter of how much time you want to spend on a CMS. Do you have the staff to do it, to maintain it, or is it simpler just to shoot us an email and say, put this in? That builds you a couple areas that you need control. This is, again, this was a video. It doesn't show here, but that's a video running right there where the sailboat is. This was designed a few years back. There was the site was put out to bid about 3 or 4 years ago. We won the bid again, and this was a design that we had come up with. But at that time, the idea of making a change was tabled, and so it just sat. And we would probably not necessarily use this exact design because it's now probably not really as good and responsive as I would like it to be, going down to a phone. But it was intended that a lot of government information would be in the left-hand column, but kept tight and concise, and the tourism information would be to the right of the majority of the site. So that was a way to kind of compromise the two ideas. But we're certainly open to anybody's suggestions and council suggestions. We're anxious to get started on this because it's overdue, and we know that. But back to the CMSs, the one we just built for the National Music Festival, and actually this town site, the problem we're going to have with that is, this site is 80 to 100 static pages, and approximately over 1,700 database pages. And that's a lot of information to try to cram into a phone. So we have to make some compromises to what we put on the phone. You know, we don't necessarily need to put up 5 years ago minutes on the phone. So all those decisions have to be made along the way.
That would be an advantage of having a separate government site.
Well, it would still be the issue, do you want it on the phone or not?
Yeah. But people with using the smartphone probably wouldn't go to the.
That's our hope, yeah. But, you know, you can get a .gov domain from the, it has to come from the .gov, actually comes from the federal government. That would cost you $125 a year, which is interesting because they charge like 10 times what everybody else charges for a domain name, but that's the federal government. You can also get, you could get Chestertown. Get this right here. Chestertown.maryland.us. That's free from the state. And they would like to have everybody start using that so their system looks consistent throughout the state. Not too many people have jumped on that bandwagon yet, but they would like to see that happen. At least some conversations I've had. So that's pretty much where we stand. We're ready to start redesigning if you're ready to move forward. And if you have any questions, I'll answer any questions.
Has there ever been any consideration of having a payment facility on the town website for, say, paying your utility bills, your water and sewer bills, or is that something the town ever looked at?
We talked about it, but Pat said it would cost too much, but then you can always put a, what is it called? What kind of fee?
A fee for paying.
Courtesy fee.
Credit card.
Yeah, you can do what the county does. They use you would do this through a third party. You do not want to get involved with that kind of a hassle for just collecting those payments. And the third party, if I'm not mistaken, they have different charges whether you want to use a credit card, a debit card, or a direct withdrawal from your checking account.
Because I've been really involved in reviewing the new music festival site.
Right.
And it's working very well, and, you know, we do get a lot of payments and donations through the website.
Right, for them, we are in the process of, they have a merchant account, so we're in the process of setting up a gateway and a shopping cart to get that done, rather than using PayPal. The difference is, the problem they're going to have, which you won't have, is they have to worry about shipping. If they want to sell their gifts, and, you know, that's an issue.
Something else we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah, how about that?
But, you know, the application fees and everything are coming in.
Yeah, that's all fine.
goes.
You know, right now, it's sitting on PayPal like it was before, and that does work. You're not necessarily going to save any real money there because there's a gateway fee.
Yeah.
However, it looks a little more professional if you're not sending your check to Chestertown via PayPal. You know, it would be better to do it through.
But we're looking at a different system.
Or a third system, yeah. Anything's an option.
There's some things that I think could really, I'm sorry, that we haven't gotten into yet as far as, and people ask for it all the time, the ability to fill out applications for building permits online, and I think that'd be the next thing that we do in a redesign or a change.
Yeah, the permits, some of those permits get monthly, but they can be done.
Yeah, and you know, really, we want to help people, and a lot of times they need help. So they very rarely does somebody go through a building permit and know how to do everything. So
What I'd like to do is let's see if Sam can upload this, and we'll get some feedback, and then we'll wrap up.
Oh, I might want to make one more comment before Sam starts. Under the current arrangement that I have with Chestertown, the redesign cost of rebuilding the existing site with a new design, some additions, not necessarily a CMS or a complete second site, but those fees are all included in the annual fee you can pay. So, if you just told me to go ahead and rebuild it to whatever design you approve, add some pages, it wouldn't cost you anything more. If you want CMSs or you want to do 2 sites, we have to figure out a small charge to cover the difference in time. Let me get back to where Sam needs to go.
Just in the next
I think it's there.
Did I miss the free part?
No, you heard that.
Pete, thank you.
All right, Sam, this is your last chance.
This is it. This is it. No, I completely
Yeah.
agree. Oh, yes, you gotta love it. No. Okay, what a message. Your new hardware is installed but might not work properly until you reboot.
Oh, jeez.
Let's
try
just
it.
hope it doesn't,
Something just came up, there you go. That's on file.
Okay, this is it.
Yeah, let's open up
Keep
some of
fingers
Pete's.
crossed, everybody.
Let's open up some of Pete's files.
Okay, so here we are.
I see one I'd really like to open right now. Suit versus town. Open that.
Let's go ahead and close that. Okay. All right, this dual monitor thing is certainly on balance here. There we go. Got it.
All right,
Yay.
Let's do this. Okay. Get full screen. So the primary objective of this this brief PowerPoint that I put together is really just to convince you all as the council to really make an immediate move on updating the website. It's just something that simply has to happen. So essentially what I'm going to go over are just some statistics. However, I'm just going to fly through those at this point in time. I'm also going to talk a lot about the relationship between the internet and social media. That is something, the language is changing these days. When people say, or people no longer say, I read this on the web, or I read this on the internet. It's more so, so-and-so posted on Facebook, or I saw this tweet, or did you see that Instagram picture? That's the type of language that is really becoming ingrained more and more into society. So thinking towards that or along those lines, it's really important to think of the relationship between social media and the internet, especially in today's day. We're going to then look at some really nice sites that we kind of uncovered that would be really good models for the new Chestertown website. And then, kind of reinforce why we need to update the website as it stands now. So just some very quick statistics. 82% of all American adults ages 18 and older say they use the internet or email at least occasionally. And of course, 67% do so on a daily basis. That's nothing new. Everybody assumes that the internet is used quite frequently. But the most important statistic is the rise in internet use of our 65 and older demographic. That is something that has grown exponentially over the past couple of years and will continue to do so.
Would you concur, Liz?
I am on the town Facebook page as we speak.
There we go.
There's nothing on it since February the 26th.
And we will certainly get into that.
That's not mine.
So like I alluded to before, social media and the internet, that overall phrase, I mean, it's something that is quickly becoming integrated as one and can almost be used synonymously these days. So Americans on average spend about 37 minutes daily on social media sites. So you have Americans spending more time on social media than you have doing any other thing on the internet, and that includes checking emails. So that certainly says something and sends a very dynamic message. Let's take a look. And so 66% 66% of adults are using social networking sites. And of course, the vast majority of those are from the demographic of 18 to 29. But again, let's look at the demographic of some of the older generation. They are logging onto these social media sites more frequently as well. So you can see it's grown very rapidly, again, on that demographic of 65 and older. So you see across the entire spectrum, you have a large user base of social media platforms. And as Mike alluded to earlier in his presentation, you've got something very unique happening, and that's the rise of the mobile-only user. Let's look into this a little bit more because it's very important. 55% of Americans said they used a mobile device to access the internet. And 31% of these mobile users say that's their primary way of accessing the web. Case in point, my girlfriend and I were visiting Harrisonburg and Stanton, Virginia this past weekend, and the way we figured out what to do, where to go, was through our mobile phone. Thankfully, I had 4G LTE network, so it was very fast down there. And I did not carry a laptop with me. I did not carry even an iPad. Everything that we did was on our mobile phone. We were finding things to do, finding things to get involved with while we were down there. And of course, we have no previous experience with Harrisonburg or Stanton, Virginia. And so we found places to eat, we found places to go, all using our mobile phone.
And Sam, that's a trend that's trending upwards.
It's trending significantly
Yeah.
upward. And you also have, at the macro level, PC sales are at an all-time low. Mobile phone and tablet device sales are at an all-time high. So you can see where everybody's transitioning to. And again, this just reinforces that 60% or so of social media time is spent not on desktop computers, but on the mobile phone. So moving right along here, social media beyond Facebook. Whenever somebody says social media, the first thing that comes to mind is oftentimes Facebook. And that is so primarily because of the lion's share of users that Facebook controls. However, there are a lot of different social media sites out there other than Facebook, and let's take a look at some. Here is, of course, Twitter. What I did was I typed in Chestertown in the search box. What happens is these social media sites, they pretty much track every word you say, essentially. So when you type in Chestertown, what it does is it combs through its entire database looking for the word Chestertown, and it will display every single tweeter out there who has said something about Chestertown. And of course, you have the hashtag, and that hashtag is the pound sign. You put that in front of the word that you are essentially trying to promote or essentially trying to market. And what happens is anytime somebody clicks that word, it shows all of the other users around the world who have also used that word as well with the pound sign in front of it. So essentially what you can do is build an entire campaign around a hashtag, around hashtag Chestertown, or say hashtag Tea Party. So anytime anybody sees that word and they click on it, everything, all the Tea Party or the hashtag Chestertowns that were used will come up for people to take a look at. And of course, what you're doing is you're connecting with thousands, with millions of people, because you're not only connecting with that one person who said, that particular message, women's rowing season preview Chestertown. Of course, that's probably coming from Washington College or some rowing site. So what you do is you're not only connecting with people who follow that particular business or person or company, you're also connecting with the people who follow the followers of that, and so on and so forth. So this is huge. This is one of my personal favorites, Instagram. All of these pictures that you see here are pictures that are taken by users of things in Chestertown. You've got the Chester River Bridge at night. You've got the docks right in front of the fish whistle. You've got a nice sunflower patch. You've got downtown, First United Methodist Church. This is a wedding picture taken at Berlin Estates. So again, everything is built around those words and around those hashtags. So the comments and the messages that people are sending, they're sending it to all their friends who are connected with all different types of people. And again, when you log on to your mobile phone, when you log on to your Instagram, your Twitter, your Facebook, and you see these things, it leaves an imprint that in your mind, in your memory, that may fade very quickly. It could also stick with you as well. So again, these are just are people out there who are coming to Chestertown, who are visiting. They're seeing how quaint and charming this destination is, taking pictures and sharing with the world, quite literally. And then Pinterest. This is something that is, this is a social media site that's growing very quickly. All it is essentially is a scrapbook of pictures. So what you do is you look for the types of things that you're interested in. What I did here was search for colonial houses. And what it does is it brings up all of these different pictures and images of colonial houses. So people, when they find something that they like, what they end up doing is essentially saving that picture onto their scrapboard. But this goes much deeper. You can actually click that picture, and that picture is going to redirect you to a specific website. Last time I checked, we had a lot of really gorgeous homes here in Chestertown. This is one of the very popular categories on Pinterest. So you have users who are literally just looking at these pictures, saving the images that they like, but that website, again, is embedded in that picture. So if somebody wants to click it, find out more information, they get redirected, and we control where they get redirected to. Say they get redirected to the Chestertown website. Again, it's all about engaging audiences and then essentially directing them back to the website. And that's all social media is. And the nice thing is you control that. You control the message. You control how you're bringing these people in. Again, more pictures. This is small town that I just searched, and all these images of small towns came up. And then, of course, you know, you also have things like Yelp. This is just for reviews of restaurants. And this is actually how my girlfriend and I found where to eat while we were down in Harrisonburg and Stanton. You just log on to Yelp. All of these restaurants that are reviewed by different people who are visiting will come up. Of course, you pick the one that's highest rated, but you also are going off the dollar sign. If you have a lot of money to spend, the more dollars that are under that restaurant, that's how you know it's more expensive. The less dollars, you know, less expensive, so on and so forth. So again, a different type of social media platform. So with all that being said, I think it's quite clear that social media needs to be integrated into the next Chestertown website redevelopment, because that's simply the direction that the entire web is marching towards. And if we don't incorporate social media all throughout the Chestertown page, we're really missing out on engaging people and getting people to visit Chestertown. So let's take a look at some sites that really do it well. What I wanted to do was also go out of the industry of government web pages and just to show you how some of the private companies are really engaging people. This is actually a gym. And when you first log onto it, you see that they utilize white space very well. But you also see that they're bringing you in with these really bold pictures and bold short text statements. The thing is, you don't have a lot of time to engage people, so you really have to make it instant. Putting up a lot of text on a web page isn't going to get the job done. Because you're competing with people who are answering emails all day, you're competing with students who are writing essays and papers, you're competing with people who are reading their news online. So at the end of the day, people simply don't have the capacity to read. So the way you engage them are by pictures and short text messages. Washington College. It's interesting how when you log on to a college website, the first thing that you see are just all of these incredible stories that naturally just draw you in, so you want to read more and find out more information. They're not telling you it was found in 1782. They're not telling you that just by this web page alone, it's in Washington, it's in Chestertown, on the eastern shore of Maryland, and it's such a wonderful, quaint place. It's just simply pictures, and all that information is still very accessible. St. Michael's. Look how fantastic that looks. They suck you in immediately with that big, bold picture, and all the text is minimized and out of the way, but still very accessible for somebody who actually wants to find out more information. And again, they have these pictures that just cycle through. And the nice thing about this is you can see yourself sitting down at that table enjoying dinner. But again, anything that you need to access when it comes to visiting St. Michael's, finding out about the businesses in St. Michael's, all of those things are still there and still very accessible in some of those menus there that you can see at the top and at the bottom. And this is my personal favorite. Our very
Damn right.
Schooner Sultana webpage. Look at how it gets the job done. When you log on to this page, you see this, I mean, incredible picture of this ship. And you know instantly, okay, this is certainly, something to do with sailing. I mean, it's just in your face immediately. And of course, they have multiple pictures that cycle through. And again, they're engaging you with those pictures, but they're also engaging with those short texts. Come sailing on the schooner Sultana. You want to find out more? Just click the picture. And all of the other information about the website is still very accessible, just a few clicks away in those drop-down menus. Imagine if Chestertown had a spread, just like this. Nice, really big, bold pictures. All the information that you still need about, the information when it comes to paying bills or accessing the minutes for the town council or the planning commission, figuring out who your councilperson are. All that information is still accessible. All it is just tucked away in those drop-down menus. You can see one, the Vision 2020. It's just a simple drop-down that you hover over with your mouse, and down comes all the information that you need. Very simple, very user-friendly. That's how a lot of websites are set up these days. Going towards this direction, I think, is taking a monumental leap forward, and something that is certainly going to engage all audiences.
And you mentioned earlier trying to incorporate social media right onto like the homepage. So if you look at the upper right, we put Facebook, Twitter, and Vimeo links right there on the homepage that travel with you as you go to the other pages.
Mm-hmm. So, and it stays constant. Everything at that top page stays the same. So no matter how deep you get into the website, you still have that top menu to navigate around. And honestly, everything is vetted through the internet these days. And if somebody logs onto your website and sees that it's cumbersome to load on the mobile, too much text, not enough user engagement, they're going to log off and they're going to move on elsewhere. They're going to go onto Facebook, they're going to go onto Instagram, Twitter. So again, the attention span is very, very limited. And if you really want to make a statement and engage these users, you've got to do it quickly. And the only way you do that is with big, bold pictures, short text, and utilizing white space really well. So those are my recommendations. That's and of course I put out feelers to friends that I have who are in the industry. One of my friends who's working on his master's in interactive media, the first thing that he said was that pulling it up on the mobile phone.
It wasn't made for that.
Exactly.
Simple.
Which is why when we do the redesign, we have to take into account that most users are going to access it via the phone. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Sam. That was great. So the question then becomes, how do we, as a mayor and council, want to proceed with the redesign? And we could simply have our web designer redesign the site. We could bid it out to other providers, including our current provider. Does anybody have any thoughts on the process?
I'd like to put out an RFP.
Okay. And that's something that were you on the council when that happened? I don't think you were.
2010, 2010, fall. I sent the RFP out this afternoon. I dug it up from 2010. We had 3 bidders at the time. The cost to overhaul the site was fairly sizable in the teens, $20,000, but I think with Sam's help, if you look at that document, I think it was about 9 pages long. Things have changed a lot in 4 years, but please take a look at it if that's the direction you decide to go.
Well, we all basically know, I mean, Sam has given an excellent presentation, and we're all a lot more computer savvy than, I mean, every single day there's something coming up, and we're learning more and more. And last year at the MML conference, there was a company that specializes in municipalities. I have that information. I thought I had it with me. So I'd like to see it, let's put it on an RFP. I'd like it to be competitive. I'd like it to be up to date.
Okay. Other thoughts?
And I think, you know, in that RFP, I mean, it has to include the language of social media, especially social media management, primarily because all of these platforms are content driven, and the only way you can engage these people is if you're constantly updating and engaging users. And we can't do that. So if we have the person, if we have the company that can actually help us manage, it's just a simple matter of posting a picture, generating some words behind it as well, and getting that posted. I think including that language of the social media management is going to be very important.
And I had also liked the capability of paying bills, paying parking fines, getting permits. And I just sent you Ocean Space. I don't know whether you got it or not. So that, and that has all the drop-down boxes, has the big picture and the drop-down boxes. And you could, like you said, you can go into as far into the program as you want to get the meetings videos. They video their meetings, and you know, we've got a lot to look at out there, a lot of examples to look at.
Thoughts, Liz?
Well, I was just trying to get the St. Michael's site, and that looks to me like it's primarily a tourism site. I wasn't seeing links to any information about local government or anything else, but
yeah, it's
a stmichaels.org, which is really strange, and they got a .org domain name, so that's why.
Right. Yeah, and the only thing that I personally, the St. Michael's website, they're certainly heading in the right direction. It's still a cumbersome site to use, though, because once you navigate away from that main page, then things start to get a little bit shaky. So the primary reason why I showed that was because of that big picture that they're using, right?
But you said Ocean City? I'm going to look at that one. You know,
sign up for their newsletters. I mean, you can go on just about every.
If we do an RFP, it's going to be really important that we spell out the products that we want, because nowadays, it's not just a website necessarily, although we could still go that route. But I would suggest, actually, if you could work with Bill to develop language, if that's the route we're going to go, is to issue an RFP, to develop the language, and then we could all see a draft of it. And of course, these guys would bid on it, and you know, they would have an inside track for cost, certainly, because they know our content really well. What do you think, Marty?
I just moved into Facebook in the last year, so you're talking.
You're still trying to figure out what email is.
But you're on Facebook now, aren't you?
I am. I want to find out what my grandchildren are doing.
That's
so I
it.
go on Facebook.
Okay, well, do we need a motion to?
I don't think so. You have, you know, a platform that we used, may be dated, but it's as far as RFPs go, it's organized. So you can further organize it, and you can put in the nuances of today and tomorrow.
So can you work on that with Sam and then send us a draft?
Be glad to.
And then we'll issue it.
Just give me your comments, or you can start to draft it right there and what you have.
Okay. So the plan is that we're going to issue an RFP for the website overhaul.
It'll work well with our budget, upcoming budget the issues of payment and all, I think we have to analyze what we give up in using, having the convenience, and we'll be more than happy to give you the numbers on that. The reason why we haven't done it in the past is because we will not fail to get every dime really in the end because of the way the ordinances are drafted. If somebody doesn't pay their taxes, it goes to tax sale, et cetera. So if it's 3%, 4%, or 5%, just for convenience, you have to weigh that. Like how much revenue are you losing by making it convenient? How much more do you gain? I think it's great. I think it sounds great, and I'm wondering why they're in the consortium of cities that get together and drive that rate down. That, whether it's MasterCard or whatever, PayPal.
I have the list from the county when they brought, I don't have it with me, but I do have it on, because I got it from
So
the secretaries.
they're using it now?
Yeah.
So,
All right, so that's the plan. Thank you guys very much for coming in and for all the great service you've provided the town over the years.
Not a problem.
And,
A couple quick comments though,
Sure.
by going your route, which is certainly your choice. You will lose some of the interconnection with the county. You also have to remember that part of the way the images are good, I agree with big images and all that kind of thing, but you're selling more than just Chestertown, you're selling all the sub-things. And if you don't have a lot of SEO work going on that works in today's SEO market, you will drop in visibility other than if somebody types in the word Chestertown.
What's SEO?
Search engine optimization.
Yeah.
Most search engine optimization works off of text. As much as we don't want to use text, it wants to see text. So we craft text on the homepage to include the kind of words that people may be using. Maybe they're looking for lodging, or they want to be on the river, or they want to go hiking,
Right.
If you don't put it in there, you don't get picked up.
Yeah.
So Chestertown is obvious no matter what I put on the homepage of Chestertown. If you type in Chestertown, you'll get your homepage.
Right.
The same thing with Sultana. You'll get Sultana no matter what you put in there.
Right.
But will you get Chestertown if you put in an abstract term like town by the river, or something people just in general looking? So that requires a little more thought and serious balancing between what's a bad overused phrase, but all the bells and whistles, and serious usability by people who want information.
Yeah.
But you can make the prettiest site in the world, but if people can't find it, it doesn't do you any good.
Right.
So it's a balance you have to play.
Yep.
And that's what we've always striven to do.
Yeah.
But whatever. Let me get this thing off of here so you can continue on your way. You already killed that. Okay.
It's a photogenic ship there. That was from the day it was born. You want me to go ahead and move along?
Sure.
I'm going to run through some things really quick before we have Billy on the bid opening for the Marina RFP is March 7th, that's this Friday. On February 28th, we had a very productive pre-bid meeting attended by probably 8 or 9 engineers. The State Department of Natural Resources came over. I don't think you guys met them. They're the people that work under Secretary Gill. So we had a really good work session, cleared up any questions. The other things I have is we've been fighting these snowstorms, and salt supplies around the country are dwindling. You might have read about it. We won't get more salt till Friday. Wilmington, the Port of Wilmington stopped delivering, and we're getting it out of Baltimore. We expect more, but maybe this. So we're putting it on a little thinner. We need a little bit of warming. We saw some today. So you won't always see black asphalt, but you will soon. Our guys are doing a super job, and it seems like we always have to get ready for the farmer's market, but maybe we'll get some melting before then, but we will clean that up. We have the expanded Cannon Street Employees Parking Lot sort of outlined, and we're ready to launch it. We're going to do it mainly in-house. We've cleaned up the yard, we're getting rid of metal. We're going on to a site called government.com to sell our old trucks and some of the things at a higher rate than we've ever gotten before. Met with those individuals last week. They they sell everything on that site. Just go on it and see. I think someone here met them at the convention last year. It's a terrific site, and it's going to really help us get rid of some of that junk and make it into cash. The new parking lot breaks through to the basketball area, so there'll be a connection there, so people can walk to the rail trail. I've walked it with the mayor. I'm ready to go on it, and I'll keep you apprised of the expenses. I don't think they'll be dramatic, but we've cleaned out the sheds. We're ready to demolish parts of them and move our yard around, so it needed neatening up. So with everybody's, if you agree to that, then we'll proceed. And I'm not going to start removing the back shed until you guys say it's a good idea. What do you think?
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
I just want you to say, hey, you can go on. Okay, good. Saturday's Chester Grass was really great. I think the turnout was more than they expected. The jambalaya was really good. I see Ernie Mayer couldn't stay any longer. His Bluebird boxes are ready for the Bailey Park, and we'll be putting them up next week if it doesn't snow again. But he knows the locations. He's called me today, and he's really excited, and our same crew that's going to really be doing this expanded parking lot is going to locate those, drive the holes, and install them for him. He was really shocked that we do all the rest. I think that's really all. Billy Arrowwood is the last thing on the agenda. He has a Board of Education MOU. Billy? Everybody got this MOU earlier in paper form today, too.
Right. You got it emailed to you earlier, and I'm bringing some photos for you guys to see up close and personal so the public can see them. I contracted and had a friend of mine, an architect, who's just some drafts of what the field could look like, and we wanted, because we knew that people would get a better visual idea of what could happen there. So I wrote those for you guys. Have those emails for the folks in the audience today.
Those are the things that's posted on the internet.
Right. Yeah, that's the stuff I attached to you.
Right. I didn't understand what the brown part is, Bill.
Where do you mean, Mario? Here?
No,
or here?
The solid brown down,
Yeah,
no, up there. Go up to the picture. The picture where the backstop, the back part of the backstop.
Back here? From this thing right here?
Yeah, right.
That is, as I've designed it, we've talked about doing a brick backstop with plaques on it. That's how we pay for it. By selling, there's several different ways to raise sponsorship dollars. You can sell it wide, you can sell it nice. Putting a brick patio the way you guys did with Remembrance Park.
Right.
So people can have, if they give $50.
Okay, those are bricks, that brown
bricks,
in.
that's brick.
Okay.
And then the backstop itself would also be brick, like when you go to Camden Yards.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that, but now I do.
That makes sense now? Okay. So it would be a small brick patio and a backstop, just like going to a big league ballpark. I sent the MOU to you guys for a general review. There was a series of questions that council asked, and I sent back an email addressing those. I'm here to answer any additional questions based on that email, or if you'd like, I can very quickly go over some of those questions so we can cover them. I know we've been here a long time, so I want to be as expedient as possible with what you guys would like to do.
You answered my question, so I'm not at a loss.
Anybody else?
Is this, I still need to be convinced that a baseball field is, that there's people out there crying out for a baseball field,
Okay.
as opposed to some other sports facility. Do we know that there's a demonstrated demand for a field?
In my 2012 report of the survey of town recreation, baseball was one of the top vote getters for what people asked for, right after basketball, and you're already building with basketball.
That's good enough.
As far as a need for one, there is none.
There is none, you're the only...
No, I mean, it's not like you're adding to it.
No.
We don't have any.
No, we don't have anything.
You are the only town in the county, and the only one in 3 counties that doesn't have a baseball field for its youth or adults to play on.
Okay.
The demonstrated need of numbers of people that would be playing, or they're already playing in Wharton that would come to Chestertown, is far outweighed by the number of youth and people that could be playing that aren't because they don't have access to Wharton and that they don't have one.
Okay.
Real quick for general public, I'll run through these. There were some of the questions so people are sort of a little more aware of them. One of the questions in the provision is that we had planned on building a second field. That field was contingent on the effective use and maintenance of this field. After a 2-year period, we would look within 4 years to add a second field on the other end. That field originally held 3. We feel like the 2 there would be a nice add and still leave ample room on the field for a multi-use for the school to use for soccer or lacrosse or whatever else they want to use. Ultimately, we'd love to go to as many as 3 fields in town, building a small t-ball field at Garnett Elementary School. But building this first field would demonstrate to a bridge between the town and county and the school board that this kind of operation can work. Usage, as with any school property, during the school day, it defers to the school's use. And then we were writing in that the school would have first refusal to schedule anything after school, but CRC will work with that on daily maintenance. Maintenance is the bugaboo of all of these things. It's the biggest hindrance from the county, is they want to make sure that someone's putting in a long-term investment. Their loss at the Garnett Elementary School site was largely done because after a couple of years, people that had said they were going to stick around and help maintain it didn't. It fell entirely on the school board's maintenance staff. I'll speak real quick to make sure that publicly we make sure there's a difference between when we say the county and the school board. They're 2 very different entities. And I try to put that out in the MOU. So when we talk about the school board, we're talking about the school district of Kent County. We're talking about County of Kent. We're talking about county commissioners and the Parks and Rec Department. That's County of Kent. I propose that the town hire a seasonal maintenance person specifically for this field at $10 an hour for 10, 15 hours a week. It guarantees to the school board that we're putting in the time and effort, we're going to put someone on it. One of the suggestions, which I thought was a very good suggestion by Councilwoman Kuiper, was that we involve the Hoyas in that maintenance. It's a great idea in theory. However, hiring teenagers to work heavy equipment and be regular workers is tricky and ends up being a lot more work for the people that actually have to do it every week. It's much better to get the Hoyas and other area youth groups that are working with our youth to do specific day work, have a big build, have a big cleanup day, and bring them in for days like that. But the hiring of a specific person to do this, I think, is what will bridge the gap between letting the school board understand we're not asking this to be a burden on them. The reason for the split in the money, we're requesting the town to give us $5,000 this year and $4,500 budgeted annually. And we're asking the county of Kent to give us $2,500 and $1,500 annually, is that the county provides a number of other facilities around the county, and this would be just one more that they would be contributing to, whereas Chestertown right now, this would be the only one in Chestertown, so we're asking the town of Chestertown to contribute a little more. The amount that we're asking the town to contribute annually is a little less than $1 per person in Chestertown for to have its own baseball field. Considering the overall cost of the field are about $30,000, we're asking the town for 5 is a pretty small amount. Scheduling, the CRC is offering to handle scheduling and coordinating with Parks and Rec. There's a question over the Board of Ed contribution towards construction. What we're asking for the Board of Ed to do towards construction costs is remove the existing backstop, which is currently facing the wrong way, so we're going to put a whole new one in. The one that's there now faces the Victory Garden, so a long fly ball flies in the gardens. We have to have that removed, and we're going to turn the facility about 45 degrees so it actually is in the corner facing towards Heron Point, not towards the garden. One of the folks asked if we have to worry about balls hitting cars in the street, and I don't think Chris Davis could hit a fly ball from that position to hit a ball in the street, so we're not in danger of 10-year-old boys doing it.
If you were to schedule like league games, would those folks park in the back parking lot to get to the field?
You could park on campus, or you could park because it'd be after school, so the school parking lot is generally open after those hours.
Right.
So adding and again, you're talking about town folks that half of them are going to walk, and so you're going to add maybe 10 or 15 cars. It wouldn't be any more than any other after-school event at the school. And it'd be on a Saturday. The folks on Campus Avenue all have driveways, and you can designate, the town can very easily designate parking signs on the residential side of campus that, you know, no parking for on-site, you know, for non-residents. And then people's driveways don't get blocked. And that's something that is common when you do this around a stadium, you do it around a facility or anything like that. You make sure that the residents have their ways of access. I think that was the basic, so what I was saying about the board rate contribution, we estimate that's $5,000 or $6,000 for them to remove and install the new one. So that's their in-kind trade by donating that labor to have that installed. So that's why we're not asking specific funds.
Will they get any use out of this for the school?
The school have it, you know, every day of the year. They can play
I have
there.
a daughter in the middle school, and I don't really know what they do outside.
I've talked to the...
You do too, right?
The gym teacher athletic director of the middle school said he would absolutely use the baseball field if they had one.
Well, duh. It's just sad that they don't have one now.
Yeah.
I go by there and I don't see them doing anything.
Me neither. You know, that
Maybe they're playing
really
tag or
bothers
something.
me.
They just seem to be running helter-skelter.
One of the reasons, Councilman Gross, we targeted baseball to be one of our first builds. Is that baseball is a relatively easy, inexpensive build, relatively, and it looks like something right away. If you put up a soccer field, it doesn't really look like anything, even though we'll get more use out of a soccer field. It doesn't look like it. The baseball field is something we can build as a community. The build on it is entirely meant to be volunteer, and pending your approval of the MOU, I take it back to the school board and get their approval, then I can start building people to actually get involved. I've resisted that up until now because I don't want to put the cart before the horse. It's up to you to make this a possibility so that I can manifest it on the field. I can't do that until you and the school board are in agreement. One of the questions that several people asked was, do you think you'll get the volunteers to do it? And when we built the Garnett playground, that was significantly more complicated and a lot more dangerous, and we did that almost with all volunteers. You know, this is dirt and shovels, mostly. It's a couple of bobcats and a couple of guys building benches that are carpenters, but it's not that Leathers and Associates playground that we did almost entirely with volunteer effort. The other one is, and I will go on record with this and make sure that everybody understands this. There's been some concern that we couldn't raise $20,000, and all of our requests from the town and county are pending the CRC's ability to raise the initial $20,000 of the $30,000 budgeted. And I sent an email to this effect to the mayor and to the council. I'll personally guarantee it out of my own funds. So that's how important baseball is to me. It's how important it is to people I've spoken to. I've cleared that money to sit in my bank until I need it. So if I can't go door to door, and I think I would be remiss if anyone didn't think I wasn't good at going door to door. I'll show up with a check for you. So other questions you guys have, and otherwise I will ask you guys to help me suss out some of the spelling errors and some of the details. Mr. Ingersoll, if you and Kate can make sure that I get the wording right in the legal page of the MOU. I know that because I went through a template, so I want to make sure we get that exactly right. Yes. That's not my forte at all. I'd like to get this turned over as quickly as possible so I can get moving, raising money to put this together.
I got a comment. We're really good at removing things, our town crew. It's a shame that, I don't know whether they're still farming out maintenance at the Board of Ed, but that's something that we're really good at. I would have rather had that as part of our mission, help them to remove the old, and I don't want to change. You put a lot of work into this.
That was Perez John's request. He said he wanted his guys on because it's their thing.
But that's fine. Who? John Johnson.
I think a ball field is needed there. My kids were young. I live in that neighborhood, semi-ward. I used to walk over there with them. Unfortunately, neither one of them turned out to be very good ball players, but at least we had some place to go over and have a semblance of a ball field and play on it. And you can't do that today here in this town. And
one of the things I really try to sell people is that I want the Chestertown ball field to be the best ball field in the county and best ball field in 50 miles. I want that to be the showcase field. When they have an end of year tournament, we have a big finish game, I want them to come to Chestertown to play that game. I don't want to, Wharton's got a great facility with, a half a dozen, 8 or 9 fields. I want the big game to come downtown. And so we want to build this field, they want to build this field to be the showcase field in the area. And that's why it's going to cost a little more.
Do we have an adult baseball rec league in the area? I know we have flag football.
We have adult softball in Wharton.
Okay.
And I have people that have asked me, said we would love to play in town.
Yeah.
The Wharton leagues are very competitive, or they start recreational, get more and more competitive. I've commissioned a softball league in the city, and they start recreational. But it'd be great if we had a field that was one night a week was a pickup game.
Right.
That young adults could say, just show up with your glove, we'll split in teams, you can get in the game and have fun. You don't have to do that. Or we could just have a co-ed recreational league in town. You can't do any of that without the facility. You can't say, well, why don't we have that? Well, because you don't. Baseball is one of those places you actually have to have the dirt. You have to have the place to do it. No one's playing in a parking lot or a grass field anymore. So, anyway.
All right, I think we've heard enough. Are we ready to support this, or?
I wanted to ask, with the emails that were going back and forth, we have everybody from the mayor and council, Recreation Commission, and then the school board, but I didn't see any commissioners involved in the
Because the
emails.
commissioners have asked me to clear this MOU between you and the school board before I go back to them. They want to know the school board has signed off on it before they'll even hear me. So I can't do that until you sign off to take it back to the school board.
Now,
It's a long, very...
A lot of bureaucracy.
yeah, but are
Welcome to
you
the
getting the
government.
money from the Kent County Board of Education or the school board?
That's the same thing.
That's the same
No.
thing. You mean the
School board
Kent
and the Board
County
of Education are the
Commission?
same thing. School board and the Board of Education are the same thing. But the County of Kent is what you mean.
Baseball
Commissioners.
team at Williams College.
Yeah, you answered that.
I haven't asked anything of the County of
It's a
Kent.
left-handed pitcher.
And we're asking for no money from the school.
That's an
board.
advantage.
It is.
From the school board.
You haven't asked any money.
We're not asking any more from the school board.
You're asking for 1,500,
No, that's County of Kent in the Parks and Rec budget.
you're right.
I would still like John Queen, because he has emailed me before, asking if I knew of any places that the Hoyas could volunteer.
Absolutely, they could volunteer there, but I don't think it's appropriate to put them as the seasonal staff person, because you want one person dedicated to be able to show up there all the time to do that. It's an absolutely great opportunity for the Hoyas, for the Boy Scouts, for Work in Progress's gangs program, which is God's Anointed New Generation. There are lots of other, the WINS Men's Circle and Girls Circle. There are places where we can bring these groups that want volunteer opportunities to get them to do days of service, to do that really well. But the thing to make it okay for the board is that we need to show that we're going to put a body there that's going to be their job to make sure this thing stays maintained.
And where are they getting the equipment from
Which equipment is that?
to maintain the field?
That's what the budgeting is for. That's $3,000 a year for that, plus 15 from the county every year to purchase the equipment to do that.
Well, if you can get somebody to donate the whole $20,000, we'll name the field after them, right? So if you have to end up putting your 20,000 in there, you can name it after.
Arrowwood Field, what are you talking about?
That's something I would take up with the school district, but there's signage opportunities for stuff like that, and that's what we're asking them to agree to. They've done that at the other, that's how it is at, certainly in Washington College, but certainly even at Kent County High School in the baseball and football arenas, they have signage there that helps fund the baseball. One thing I put in there specifically to make people happy, especially the residents of campus and Rolling Road, is that we said that we wanted uniform signage. We're going to keep it all the same color, same design scheme. So that as you look at it from a distance, it's not a gangly array of billboards. It's going to look like, from 500 feet away, it'll look like blue and gold, and that's all you'll see. And as you get closer, you're on the field, then you'll be able to see their logos and things like that.
Is there any opportunity at all for public input on this? I mean, one of the members of the school board sent information out to a number of residents, and I heard from a couple of residents in my ward that they were worried about extra parking and noise, and they thought there might be lights at night, and, no, I know, but, the usual reactions that one gets. What is the process?
Inviting them to the recreation commission meetings.
We had the open meeting last week, last month, we brought this up at that meeting, people were asked about it.
Okay.
We've made every effort to be as open about this and invite commentary. So, and again, for you guys, for people listening out there, we have a email address, chestertownrec@yahoo. So if you have commentary, we actively invite us. We have a Facebook page that we direct people to try to find events, and we encourage people to reach out to us through either of those out in the live.
Might as well turn it. You might as well.
Too casual.
All right, guys, do we have enough information to
Yep.
support this? If so, we need to make
What's
a
the
motion.
timing of this, Billy? When do you think?
As soon as you can get it to me, I'm going to take this back to the board.
No. When are you going to need the $5,000? Can we make it the budget year?
As soon as this is approved for everybody, I'm going to start fundraising. I would love to break ground on this thing before May. I mean, I want to break ground in April, but I would like to do it before May.
So we have to find it in the old budget. Just letting you know. It's okay. I just want, I doubt you'll get going as fast as you think. That's not very far away, but you're pretty fast.
Okay, do we have a motion?
What is the
I'll
motion?
move that we approve it. We're approving, supporting this ball field.
We're approving this memorandum of
No,
understanding.
it needs work.
Okay, yeah,
It needs work on the language. I don't want to
Yeah.
approve this document, but approve it in principle.
I'm sorry. Why don't you authorize the mayor to sign the memorandum of understanding when it's done?
When it's squared
And
away.
I would like to, with the councilman's approval, I'd like to have that on to you by Monday. We'll make some revisions for language and have it to you by
I've got a
Monday.
copy for you with some
Yep.
typos marked on it.
Yep. And I've addressed some of your, I've actually updated it since I sent it to you, with some of those specific questions outlined a little better in the addendum. And I'll include the budget and the schematic map in it as well. So
All right, so the motion is, Marty has made, is that we support the MOU in concept.
Have you signed it after it's been
vetted?
Tweet.
cleared up or whatever they're going to do to
I
it?
second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? All right.
Yeah, I've got a ton of other stuff that I will send to you in email and we'll start.
I'm sure you will. All right, mayor's report, I'm going to be very brief. Just a reminder that a week from today at 7 o'clock at Big Mix, we have our first business forum with as many business owners from the C1 General Commercial District as choose to attend. It's
From
basically
yesterday. A week from
a week,
yesterday.
I'm sorry, yeah, a week from yesterday. Kept
Have they been
thinking.
responsive to the invitation?
We didn't ask them to
No, we
RSVP.
didn't ask them to RSVP, it was just kind of like out
Has Sydney
there.
gotten all the?
As far as I know, they're giving it.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. how
That's
many
at 7
people-
o'clock, not
I
7:30.
went and talked to the owners of the Big Mix
I think
and
7.
in case to join out and also talk to them about their other issue. A couple Saturdays ago, so they seemed excited about it.
So that'll be Monday at 7. I think
7,
7 was the time, right? So 7 o'clock, Monday at Big Mix. Second item, we had a great first brainstorming session for what I'm calling Chestertown's Colonial Christmas. We had about 25 people from the community show up, representing probably 8 different organizations, put together a really nice itinerary, and we're going to have another brainstorming session, hopefully at the end of March, to kind of firm up the itinerary. But that's a weekend that I want to build into a tradition here to kind of help bolster our local downtown economy for Christmas. So thank you for everybody that came. And lastly, I just wanted to say, this isn't on my report, but I did meet with our green team to discuss sort of green initiatives that I would like to pursue. And the top 3 things that I told them I would like to see was the continuation of planting street trees to try to reach the 40% canopy goal that we had set with that campaign several years ago. The second thing that I wanted to explore were ways to treat our stormwater runoff, particularly downtown, kind of using the stormwater that rushes down High Street, for example, as a case study for how we can retrofit our outdated or lack of stormwater treatment facilities in town. And then thirdly was I wanted to re-examine the possibility of setting up a solar array out to power, at the very least, to power our municipal sewage treatment plant. So just wanted to put that out there. It was very preliminary. I just wanted to throw out my ideas, but we'll probably be hearing more about those initiatives as funding sources arise or things of that nature happen. And that's it for me. Why don't we go to ward reports? It is almost 10 o'clock. Keep that in mind, Liz.
There's not much
Starting
goes
with-
on in the first ward. No, I just wanted to comment, thanks to Bill, after pointed out to him this morning that, again, Philosopher's Terrace and Campus Avenue needed some more attention, but in particular, Sassafras Drive in Heron Point, which is the town road, was in very bad shape this morning, but they used the last little bit of remaining salt, I think, to help things along there. That's really great, and I know a lot of people appreciate it. I just wanted to remind council members that Marty and I did ask for your written comments on the draft ordinance on financial disclosure, campaign finance disclosure. I would like to get them by Sunday night latest. Marty and I are planning to meet on the 10th. That's Monday, right? Yeah. To do the revisions that are needed. So that's all I have.
Okay.
Reminder that I'm hoping to hear from you.
Okay, Linda, Ward 2.
Well, I thought Chestertown fared very well with snow removal when I got to Annapolis this morning. And you would think our state capital would have clear roads, but they didn't. So anyway, I think Chestertown did well. And I think Wanda's gone, but our new Farmers Market Artisans brochure has been printed and it's beautiful. So we will let our artisans and Farmers Market people decide where they want to go, and we'll put some in the visitor center.
Great.
And thank you for the snow removal again.
We're getting better at it.
Yeah.
All right, Ward 3.
All's well.
All's well on the west. All right, how about Ward 4?
I want to suggest that sometimes we go 4
Okay,
through 1.
done.
There's a lot of
I'd
pressure
like
on me to
that.
get the
It
hell
is.
out of here when it gets around. The only thing I have to say is that I got an unsolicited testimonial to the streets in my area. I have a friend who walks 5 or 6 miles who lives in Kingstown. He said, I can't walk in my area when we have snow and ice, so I drive over in your area and walk that down in it, because our streets are cleaned and are dry, so I don't know what that is. He come to me to tell me that the town does
That's
such a
neat.
great job of keeping the streets clean, and I thought it'd be nice to pass it on.
Great.
And that's all, Ward 4 is doing great.
All right. Are there any questions or comments from the audience? Yes.
In speaking of snow removal, 300 block of High Street has a real problem with landlords that are not clearing their street. It's a recurrent problem, especially frankly, from my mom's house down. And it's almost all one property owner. And it's been every day, every winter storm, it's not been plowed at all. I've done it several times, other people have kicked in, but if you go out there right now, it's a sheet of ice and it's physically dangerous.
I think I will.
Huh?
I think I'll go there right after this.
You know, but as neighbors, we'd like you guys to clamp down with those people, and whatever it takes to actually care for the property. It's really bad as an eyesore for downtown businesses, that as you're walking clear, and then a giant patch is not, it's physically dangerous and it looks terrible for people that want to encourage people to shop downtown again. If you have a business, and I know some of these people aren't, if the businesses aren't in there, but you can hire somebody, or if nothing else, we might suggest that the town, when they're finishing cleaning the park, if you know they're not going to do it, have them drive that tractor right up the street, at least make a path, and then send them a bill for it. It's a real problem.
No question.
As much snow as we've had, I can tell you that from my mom's house down to JR's, hasn't been shoveled once this week.
Now, I don't understand that because JR's got, some of his building is underground.
Yeah,
Is
but-
in that area that's not cleared. I noticed that this
Yeah.
afternoon when I went to lunch there.
Snow before last, Paul Harris cleared some paths because I called him downtown and asked him to.
But-
But other than that,
Paul Wilson?
Paul Wilson, sorry.
Okay.
Well, so I mean,
Yeah, I sent the town crew up and down the streets just in case,
Yeah.
because it, you know, you have a bank that's out and we have to remind them.
No, I mean, as of right now, the.
Pharmacy that's closed.
Where the deli was, the pharmacy, and
Yeah.
the entire block in front of.
I think we'll just do it and bill them because I don't think it's gonna happen. Or maybe it'll stop snowing finally.
Maybe.
That's Red Carol.
May I bring in my formal bid protest?
Sure.
This is for the step conveyance. I apologize if you folks received a skewed view. I have included in that cases evaluation sheet that shows that he only evaluated 3 of our 30 projects. So 10% of our projects isn't really a good qualifier there.
Okay.
Well, thanks for being so patient. You waited like 2 or 3 hours, right, Kevin?
Everyone gets their turn, right?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Any other comments from the audience?
It's written protests on what you were speaking of earlier on, the bid award.
okay.
For the step
Oh, okay.
conveyance, okay?
Who is that?
That's Kevin, what's your last name, Kevin?
Martin.
Kilmartin.
Okay.
And he's, you know, the guy who does all the projects for Unity.
Yeah. I didn't know who he was.
The foreman, or what do you call yourself, Kevin? Clerk of the Works?
All right, are there any other comments from the audience? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed?
No, I think we should stay here.
Yeah, right. I don't think we were here long
Move
enough.
to a different form of libation. You know, these meetings would be a lot more fun if there was